Saying Google it makes you sound old. Search it up instead.
That's the headline from a recent New York Times on language column by Sophie Hagney, and it captures a generational shift in how we talk about looking things up online. Hagney starts by confessing she's a power Googler. She's Googled thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of things. Her search bar feels like an extension of her mind, a place where idle thoughts get typed in and generate hundreds of thousands of new pathways.
To Google is one of her most used verbs. But she notices that younger generations, Gen Z and Alpha, aren't using that verb. They might still use Google the engine, but they don't say they're Googling. They say search it up. As in, who is that Norwegian soccer player with the long blonde hair? Search it up.
And if there's a direct object, you drop the it, you search up Erling Haaland. This phrasal verb has taken off profoundly among kids. A few years ago, the podcast Away with Words interviewed a 13-year-old who said all her friends use the term. One host estimated search up was being used by zillions of people. There's even a PBS Kids miniseries that started in 2020 called Search It Up.
Hagney spoke to an 11-year-old named Carson who uses the phrase exclusively. I don't think I've ever heard one of my friends say, I Googled it, Carson told her.
The phrase search up was added to the Cambridge Advanced Learners Dictionary only in 2024, but it has a surprisingly long history. The Oxford English Dictionary cites a first mention in 1529, and an example from 1780 reads, he searched up all the Hebrew copies he was able, and burnt them. Many older research terms, look up, browse, peruse, conjure a physical sense of moving through sources. Search itself shifted near the end of the last century to describe internet exploration, moving from literal seeking to an abstract process of typing words into an interface that launches web crawlers and spits out results in a fraction of a second. The old sense of search has little to do with that, so we needed a new term.
Enter Googling.
Merriam-Webster and the Oxford English Dictionary added it as a verb in 2006. It had already been named the most useful word of the year by the American Dialect Society in 2002. But now, just a couple of decades later, that verb is starting to sound dated to the youngest users. The historical depth of search up reminds us that language often recycles old forms for new technologies. And while Google became a verb in the early 2000s, it's now being replaced by a phrase that feels more platform agnostic. You can search it up on any engine, not just Google.
Thanks for listening.